Well, it's been a couple of weeks since I've done one of these, but there was the Oscars last night, which I stayed up for. I don't regret a thing though. This year it was quite expected what was going to happen, and although there weren't really any surprises, I still enjoyed the ceremony. Jimmy Kimmel did a decent job as the host. He's done it previously and I would like to see someone else take it on. Now this one I'm going to do a little bit differently. While I was watching last night and I was at my wit's end, yes I am in the same hoodie I was wearing then, I made sort of little video messages of what I thought of what was going on, give my last minute predictions, which were pretty good on the whole. I might slot those in this video if I can be bothered to do so. On the whole, I was very happy with the Oscars this year. I think everything that won was right, and although there were other options that were just as good, there were always going to be the Academy's favourites. For example, there was always a big toss-up between Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone for leading actress, and it was quite balanced on the predictions overall, but I did see it going to Emma Stone, and as her second Oscar win, and one of the very few people who have won 2 in the leading actress role, that's pretty impressive, and she's a decent actress, so hats off to her. Cillian Murphy also making history as the first Irish male to win the Best Actor. Seeing as this was very similar to the BAFTAs, and I've already done a video on the BAFTAs, go check that one out, I want to do something a little bit differently. The 10 Best Picture nominees for this year were an absolute standout bunch that were nominated across a lot of other categories, most of them winning in something. So I want to sort of do a ranking to see where I like those films in comparison to what they actually won. Oppenheimer was always going to win Best Picture, I had no doubt in my mind, but in any other year there was a lot of good contenders for that position. So here is a top 10 ranking of those films. Well, top 9. Didn't get around to seeing Killers of the Flower Moon because it was way too long. So number 9, I have Zone of Interest. Now this is one that is a lot of people's favourites among the group due to its connotations to do with Auschwitz and the sort of messaging that it portrays. My issue with that is the visuals become a side note to this. Visually the film is quite bland and static, and it's more focused on the sound, which is why it absolutely deserves winning the Sound Award, although Oppenheimer equally deserved it. I respect what it was going for. Jonathan Glazer is a pretty good director and has done a lot of decent music videos, including that Jamiroquai one. Number 8, Maestro. God, Bradley Cooper really wants one of those Oscars. He's now been nominated 12 times at the Oscars and never won a single thing, which is the most times an actor has been nominated and never won. Maestro was one of those last night that was up for quite a lot, and I think in every case it deserved Who Is the Other Thing. This tells an interesting story and the performances in it are very good. Carey Mulligan and Bradley Cooper do an excellent job. But overall I had a pacing issue with this film. I did like the switches in colour and aspect ratio. I always am a sucker for those. Number 7, controversial take. I mean, all of this list kind of is. Poor Things. Well done Emma Stone. She did an excellent performance in this part, but had a few issues with it. Once again, pacing. A lot of the Oscar nominations this year were way too long. Poor Things is one of those that struggles for me because of that runtime. There's a point near the end of the film that I thought would have been a perfect finish for it, and then it continues for another 20 minutes. Those people who have seen it will probably know what I mean when I say the wedding. I did think Mark Ruffalo's accent was very inconsistent in this film, but from a production value, costumes and makeup sense, it is a very strong feature and it definitely deserves those 3 awards, although I would have liked to see at least one of them go to Barbie just so we got that recognition. Director Yorgos Lanthimos has done some excellent works and I really love his sort of twisted camera angles, and it's a bit different. I love a fisheye when it's meaningful. People are very put off by this style and I kind of get it. The music is quite dirgy and it's just overall that general aesthetic. It works if you watch it through sort of a technicality filmmaking lens, I think. To a common cinema audience, Poor Things probably wouldn't be their choice of film. Moving on, number 6. We now get into the territory of the 3 that I didn't know where to stack on top of each other. So that has meant that Anatomy of a Fall has ended up here. I saw this one last Friday in cinemas when they were doing some reruns, and this one is a long film that deals with pacing very well. It's quite a simple story and ends on an open-ended note, which slightly unsatisfactory, but it keeps it moving. For a film that is 2 hours and 25 minutes, I didn't feel bored. Sandra Hüller does an excellent job in this film, and she does do that in Zone of Interest as well, but she peaks more here, I think. I love how much they were able to accomplish from most of the film taking place in the house and the courtroom, if not all of it. And I found it really interesting, the dynamic between her and her son and the court case in hand. It's great to see more international films getting recognition in the award season. But yeah, there's the lingering question of you never actually get an answer. You kind of put it together yourself, and I get that that's probably what it's implying. But when you sit there for 2 hours and 25 minutes for a court case where she is accused of it and then walks away, you want an answer, you know? Number 5, Past Lives. Now I'm actually really sad on my list that this ended up this low. That just tells you the quality of the films this year. If you haven't seen it already, Past Lives is now available on Netflix and is about 2 Koreans who are good childhood friends and then they're separated and see each other 20 years later. This has my favourite scene of last year in it. Individual scene. They're literally stood waiting for a taxi, there is no dialogue, and it's just beautiful. Good writing is also knowing when not to write, and these 2 actors do a fantastic job. And this is Celine Song's debut feature film. Think of what she's going to do in the future if she's getting Oscar nominations in her first time. Thank you, A24. This is just beautiful as they go from calling each other to actually meeting up, and there's a bit more of a language divide, but they get through it and it's really poignant, I find. But yeah, beautiful film if you haven't seen it already. Not too long as well. Good pacing, good camera work, we love. Number 4, American Fiction. Jeffrey Wright, one of my favourite actors anyway, but he smashes it out of the park here. I love how far the plot pushes it, and I kind of don't want to talk about this film for so long, because then I feel like I'm just being that white guy that this film is kind of, you know, if you've seen the film, you'll know. This has an excellent soundtrack with sort of the jazz aesthetic, and overall this is one where the film just ends, and I love that for it. Great cast. This is one of the 3 that Issa Rae was in that was Oscar nominated last year, also with Barbie and Spider-Verse. Number 3, Barbie. Now Greta definitely deserved a Best Director nomination. I did find it funny that all of the Barbie cast were in black last night. Looks like grieving. There's going to be a lot of articles about that, I can see it coming. Ryan Gosling performing I'm Just Ken was actually quite funny. I'm not the biggest fan of that song. It's weird to me in the film where the rest of it isn't a musical and then you have this one sung number by the cast. I like things where it either goes all one way or all the other. The soundtrack overall for this film is phenomenal. Dance the Night, Pink by Lizzo, and then of course What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish. It was quite funny when the Grammys came around as well, how in the film category most of them were all Barbie songs. But yeah, the messaging in this one is really strong, and I like how it's not particularly breaking new ground, it's just brutally saying the truth and just putting the points across bluntly. That's where this film strikes gold, and it's something that Greta does quite a lot. Number 2, Oppenheimer. Seen this one twice, loved it. Go check out my review on it, I get into a lot more detail there. However, there is one film in this list that any other year I would have loved to see it win more. And that kind of becomes a case of it being a smaller film as well, that it's just phenomenal the lengths it goes to, while being on a smaller budget with a small cast. Whereas this is a full-blown, everyone's in it. The budget isn't too big because they do a lot of practical stuff that is on a small scale and it works really well for the film. But this one coming up. Number 1, The Holdovers. Paul Giamatti should win an Oscar soon for that performance. Can he just win next year's already for Holdovers? Can we just put it back in and him get one as well? I was so happy when Devine got the supporting actress one. Like, I knew it was coming because of BAFTA. At BAFTA I was shocked that she got it and so happy. But here I was like, got the BAFTA, she's gonna bag the Oscar as well. Good on you. And to think that the guy who is the student in the film, I'm really bad at remembering names, was just a student who went for it, and he's now got a BAFTA nomination. That's incredible. Well done him, he's got a bright future ahead of him. It's just such a wholesome film. about 3 people who make this little family over their sort of problems in life, and it's those sort of things that really hit home. So there's a quick rundown of my thoughts of the top 10. We'll see what next year holds. I'm assuming at this rate Dune 2 is going to be up for a few things. May do a review on Dune 1 and 2 together at some point this week, so watch this space. So that's awards for film majorly over. TV coming later this year. BAFTAs for TV are usually in May, so we'll see what happens there. But anyway, I will now move on to going back to film reviews. Leave the awards alone. Are there any other trailers? Yes. May do another one of these unscripted news because we've had a couple of trailers lately that I will cover in a separate video to this. Namely, Inside Out 2 has received a new trailer, and DreamWorks has released a trailer for The Wild Robot. Very interested by that one. Oh yeah, also Wes Anderson winning Best Short Film. Big up. And Shamik Moore saying that Spider-Verse not winning animated feature was a snub. Agreed, but also blame her. Anyways, hope you're having a good week, and hope you didn't stay up late to see the Oscars because it's a long event. Don't do it. I mean, if you're in the States, then that's fine. You'll probably be seeing on my channel a lot of content around the show Shrek, because I'm working with the production of that. So we're a week away from opening night, which is terrifying. I'm doing lots of promoting for that, basically. Also, side note, because this seems to be a news thing and I'm just saying anything at this point, I might consider doing some merch at some point. If you would be interested in that, please let me know in the comments. I don't think I have a big enough follower base yet to do that, but who knows? I'm going to try and get to 200 subscribers by the end of the month, so also let me know what thing I should do to celebrate that if we get there, or as an incentive. As always, have a great week. See you soon.